and yet we now realize that his politics, his vision for change was correct. That's what they're trying to do to Zohran Mamdani. And I think that was a decent way to get him to change his mind on this. But once again, I will never feel satiated. I will never feel as though it is a given. I have been hurt too many times before. And my boss lives in New York City, and I tried convincing her to vote, but she's too sure Zohran will win. So here's the thing. Here's the thing I want to say. I had a very funny story for you guys this morning, because I'm just like canvassing to the best of my ability without officially canvassing. Anytime I'm around someone, I immediately go like, oh, you know, this is what's happening. Are you aware that there's an election happening today? And you know, I try to get them to vote for Zohran if they haven't already. Try to lock them down. And I had a very interesting Uber journey this morning, and I wonder if like I wonder if the Uber drivers' children are actually HasanAbi heads, because I found the most interesting New York voter. I'm gonna get into it in a second. Anyway, Dick is it's election day. Snap battle in courts. Is Zohmentum real? Andrew Cuomo's Broncos making waves. What am I missing right now? There's a lot happening in the world, but okay. Election party later. Many guests. Get in now. Why aren't you? Oh yeah, new merch day. Theology.shop. All right. And I'll do a merch post later as well. Lots of Trump on Truth Socials. I know Trump is losing his mind as well. Is Zohmentum real? Trump is losing it. How many times did you vote today? Illegally? Legally once. Illegally around 12 times. In general, Americans are so lazy and comfortable in their privileges, it doesn't take much for them to just bet on other people doing the voting for them. Lamau. I know. And most people are just like utterly oblivious to what's going on. But let's start. Let's start here. I get in the Uber, and I'm traveling to the Gowanus Canal, in the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, New York. Okay? I'm on my way. I'm on a journey. I'm on my way to go to the Majority Report. Scene. I start talking to my Uber driver, as I do every single time I'm around an individual that is living in New York City. I say, hey, man, do you live in New York? That's how I started off, because sometimes people live in New Jersey, right? Because the city is unfortunately too unaffordable. Okay? He says, yes. This is a 55-year-old Asian man. And I ask him, oh, did you know that there's an election taking place today, a New York mayoral election? He says, yes, of course I know. I say, oh, if you don't mind, who are you voting for? And he says to me he's voting for Andrew Cuomo. Stops me in my tracks. This is the first time I've encountered someone thus far that said he is not locked in on Zohran Mamdani. But the story doesn't end there. What I thought was even more interesting is the fact that he goes, I actually voted for Zohran Mamdani in the primary. He tells me that he is a lifelong, solid, reliable D voter. And I saw this as an opportunity to convert a potential Cuomo vote back to Zohran Mamdani. Okay, he went for Zohran in the primary, and now he's in the general going for Cuomo. I was like, what does that mean? He tells me that Zohran Mamdani has a lot of pie-in-the-sky ideals, and that it is far too costly, and that he'll never be able to pay for it. And I told him, well, did you know? And I asked him, like, what do you mean? What are some of these issues? Like, what are some of the policy promises that you think are impossible, right? Impossible to do, impossible to pull off. He says to me, well, the bus thing. He wants to make the trains free. He wants to make the buses free. You know, he wants to make it all free. We can't do that. We can't have that. We can't have nice things. And I say to myself in my internal monologue, here we are. Another American coming from an immigrant background who has been bludgeoned into thinking that good things are not possible. And yet he's voting against his best interest. So I asked him, Did you know that the fast and free buses thing actually took place in New York City? Because as Zohran Mamdani, when he was an assembly member, he actually got one of the lines to be free. He says to me, no, I did not know that. I say, yeah. Then I ask him, where'd you hear about this? Don't you feel like a lot of these billionaires and a lot of these millionaires that don't mind if the city is unaffordable are actually just kind of lying to people to say that these things that are very possible, that have been done before, don't you feel like those guys are trying to manipulate people? Good working class people such as yourself. He says, yeah. He says, you're starting to convince me. He tells me his children are voting for Zohran. His children are actually pie in the sky idealists. That they actually convinced him to vote for Zohran in the primary, and yet in the general there is a difference in opinion. That's when I was like, I wonder if his kids are actually fans of mine, but couldn't convince their dad. So I don't know if any of you guys in here, if you have if you had a similar situation with your parents, they went for Zohran in the primary, and then in the general they kind of wanted to move in the direction of Cuomo. Just speak out. Okay, you got to push your parents a little bit more, guys. Have conversations with them. But basically, I was able to, I think, convince him that voting for Zohran, just like he did in the primary, but also in the general as well, would be the good thing to do in this circumstance, because it was actually the billionaires and millionaires that were out to get him. I asked him, what did you think about Bernie Sanders back in the day? He said he liked Bernie Sanders. He liked Bernie Sanders quite a bit. He ended up voting for Hillary Clinton, of course, in the general, but he was a fan of Bernie Sanders and still is. And I said, well, remember what people did to Bernie Sanders in the primary, and how much they attacked him, and how they never stopped really attacking him, and yet we now realize that his politics, his vision for change was correct. That's what they're trying to do to Zohran Mamdani. And I think that was a decent way to get him to change his mind on this. But once again, I will never feel satiated. I will never feel as though it is a given. I have been hurt too many times before, and I too, as a lifelong leftist, am always going to wait until the very last moment. I'm going to wait until the very last moment. I'm not going to celebrate ahead of time. I'm going to be steadfast in my support, but I will still, of course, wait until the very last moment for celebration. Okay? You can call me. You can say I'm too pessimistic. You can say I'm too superstitious, but I've been hurt too many times, far too many times. And I will say that not only have I been hurt far too many times, I also do think that the average American genuinely just doesn't want nice things for themselves. They have a punishment fetish. No matter how seemingly reasonable or modest the incremental change might be, no matter how good these policies might be, I think Americans sometimes look directly at good policies and say, no! Okay? They say no! So you just got to wait it out. But I will tell you, as far as the vibes on the ground, people seemingly are very excited about Zohran. Okay? They're very, very excited seemingly about Zohran Mamdani. The Zomentum does seem palpable. Okay? But you never know. So, Americans would rather shoot ourselves in the foot than let someone undeserving have our shoes. Well, there's that. But then there's also the people that unironically feel as though they don't deserve nice things, that they have destroyed all confidence within themselves, the confidence they have within themselves to make change. They've destroyed all of the hope because they've been hurt time and time again. So that is part of the reason why. Who knows? How do you call yourself a lifelong leftist when you eat with your right hand? Good one, comrade. Virginia polls close at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. New Jersey polls close at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And New York City polls close at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. And the California polls close at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Minneapolis, the mayoral race polls close at 9 p.m. Eastern Time as well. That's another race that we're obviously paying close attention to with Omar Fateh, the Midwest. Shirt is way too small, bro, but where can I cop? It's a large. I'm wearing a large. I'm wearing a size large shirt. I am obviously, unfortunately, very brolic, perhaps a little too brolic for this large shirt that I'm currently wearing, but you can purchase it at ideology.shop. That's right, that's ideology.shop. American made, union made. The new Dark Ages collection has been released. Yeah, titties are on lock. Titties are on point today. Okay. All right. In any case, do you think anyone that could get the same kind of momentum as Zohran in the 2026 midterms? Yes, there are some, and we shall see. Do you deliver to Lebanon? It's a worldwide shipping. Of course, part of the reason why this is fucking stupid and Americans are purposefully propagandized against and are kept stupid is because of the likes of dipshits like Elon Musk, who is literally using his fucking platform that he purchased to basically manipulate people, to make them crazier. And we're going to talk about that as well. The New York City ballot form is a scam. He says no ID is required. Other mayoral candidates appear twice. Cuomo's lame is last in the bottom right. One of the most insane things I've ever seen. It's like, remember how I told you that Republicans, by and large, have this very interesting and very sinister method of looking at something that is a normal part of the process, knowing full well that the average American is uninitiated with this normal part of the process, and then describing it in this sinister way, describing this in this scary, creepy way, right? Example I always use is like, you could do that with anything. You could talk about surgery, for example. Like, Republicans will be like, well, transgender surgery is butchery. You're just like chopping up people's body parts. Well, technically, that's open heart surgery as well. If you want to describe it in such gruesome terms, you could. And the same thing happens here. This is a normal ballot in the state of New York, in the citywide ballot. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump, I believe, was also endorsed by two separate parties. He was on the conservative line and the Republican Party ticket. And yet, for people outside of New York, they don't know that, right? So Elon Musk is actually taking advantage of the fact that many people don't know, and maybe he's too stupid to know, right? And, of course, New York City has fusion voting, so candidates can run with multiple party lines. This is a 2024 sample ballot from Rochester. Both Harris and Trump appeared twice because they had two ballot lines. Basic New York politics here, but anything can be a conspiracy if you want it to be, says David Weigel. Now, of course, David Weigel's correction has only gotten 96 likes because he's on the platform owned by the fucking idiotic billionaire Elon Musk. Elon Musk's idiotic statement casting a cloud of doubt over the fucking accuracy of the elections that are taking place in New York, which is, by the way, literal electioneering. This is supposed to be illegal. In a competent democracy with a competent governance, Elon would go to prison for this, or at least he would be punished for this. This is a way to freak people out. Okay? And yet Elon Musk, because he is a billionaire and endlessly powerful and endlessly fucking stupid, can just bot his own shit into oblivion, have this moronic thing get in front of 13 million eyeballs on his platform and try to engage in electioneering at the very last second. I don't know how we fight back against this stuff. I don't know how we fight back against this stuff in the absence of good governance. There has to be rules around this sort of thing, okay? This is literal election interference. I know that it's great that we focus on the positives and we focus on Zohran and what he means for so many people and how he's been able to capture the attention of at least 100,000 door knockers. It's an incredible, incredible campaign, a real underdog story. And we were there. We were there at the ground floor. This community was there at the ground floor, and it's fucking awesome. But make no mistake, the reason why I will never be comfortable until it's done is because I understand the unimaginable faucet of misinformation against this campaign, the Islamophobia that is dialed up to 11 against this campaign, with billionaires and millionaires and numerous different corporate interests getting together and actively trying to propagandize against this dude who clearly has the motion, he clearly has the momentum, he clearly has the charisma. And the reason for why they want to do that is because they don't want you to dream. They don't want you to have the audacity of hope, a hope for better things and the possibility of better things, a hope for a better vision for a future. They do not want you to feel that way. They want you angry. They want you divided. They want you to hate one another. They want you to constantly fucking argue amongst yourselves and feel angry about random irrelevant things rather than those who are actually designing this society. And Elon Musk is one of the most visible aspects of this corrupt billionaire structure that exists. Okay? Because what has Zohran advanced, if not modest change in the direction, just offering a crumb back to the working poor, offering something that billionaires find to be devastating, of course, which is to dream, to have confidence once again in democracy, in the democratic process, to have confidence once again in your fellow man, that they will go out and they will be able to achieve incremental change. They don't want that. Capital owners do not want that at all, and they will fight back tooth and nail, as we have seen in this campaign. Some of you will say, Zohran is not a radical. He's actually dropped all of his associations. But even then, even with the moderation that he has presented, even then, that is seemingly a bridge too far for capital owners in this city and capital owners broadly across the country. And that's precisely the reason why you see the likes of Ted Cruz now supporting Andrew Cuomo, Donald Trump, Elon Musk, Ted Cruz. Virtually every Republican in the country is either demanding that Zohran Mamdani get deported, demanding that he get denaturalized, or demanding that at the very least you vote against him. Think about that. These people do not want even a shred of hope. They don't want you to have a speck of hope. They don't want you to recognize that united through the process of collective action or through the process of voting, that you can make changes, incremental changes, modest changes that you are deserving of. They don't want you to have that. And they're fucking terrified. They're terrified of even modest social democracy. How can you look at this and see it as anything but the uniparty, the rot, the institutional rot that exists in American politics? That is the reason why so many people refuse to get up from the couch and go out and fucking vote. Yeah, here is a sitting representative, Andy Ogles, representing Tennessee's 5th congressional district, saying, "Wake up, New York," 18 hours ago, showing images of 9/11. Dennis M. Hogan responds, he says, "I grew up on Staten Island, lost friends and neighbors on 9/11, lost my dad to a 9/11 related cancer after he spent months working at Ground Zero. It's beyond disrespectful for any congressman to be posting this, let alone one from Tennessee. God almighty." The way that these people have basically tried to actively weaponize 9/11 against a Muslim mayoral candidate that is objectively popular, I cannot believe it. It is so fucking transparent. Now, you got the Andrew Cuomo's of the world doing the same thing, but their association can't be as direct because they still have to abide by some semblance of civility. So he will go on a radio show where the radio show host says Zohran would cheer on a 9/11, and he'll agree, Andrew Cuomo, as he did with the Sid Rosenberg show, or he'll spend millions of dollars, all the PACs that are defending him, all the real estate PACs that are defending him, Michael Bloomberg, the Tisch family, Bill A. Packman, numerous others will try to tie Zohran Mamdani back to 9/11 by literally using someone like myself, another American citizen, to say, oh, he actually loves 9/11. Look, he did a fucking stream when he was in a primary, a very crowded field, when he was at 5%. He did a stream with Hasan Piker, a person like myself that obviously a lot of my haters will look to that and go, oh yeah, you're such a toxic figure. What I said in 2019 about 9/11 was obviously a reflection on a concept that there's academic consensus over, blowback, right? And I talked about in 2019 extensively how I did no favors to myself, something that I even apologized for. And yet, they have basically tried to recirculate this for only one reason, okay? And that is because they want to associate Zohran Mamdani with 9/11. That's it. He's Muslim. They want to say he wants to do 9/11. They want to say he cheers on 9/11. And we don't need to speculate on this because Andrew Cuomo did unironically agree as recently as 2 weeks ago on the Sid Rosenberg show. Zohran Mamdani would cheer on another 9/11. And yet, there was very little commotion or controversy surrounding this. Isn't that fucking crazy? Isn't that crazy? Honestly, it's so crazy that your 821 takes are coming back in this way, considering that even this community, 821 was falling off the past couple of years. It's not back. It's not back at all. They're trying to make this a real thing, but I don't think voters necessarily care about that. Not even a little bit. I think the ones who do care about that kind of stuff already hated Zohran Mamdani. And they hated him because he's Muslim, or they hated him because he's an anti-Zionist. That's it. Now, so much to talk about, so much to cover in this day. You touched on it on Majority Report, but the Messing mania is clear. Yeah. Deborah Messing has lost their fucking mind. I think many Americans have lost their fucking minds. I don't know why they're acting like New York City isn't filled with transplants at this point. A lot of the legacy New Yorkers are long gone because they were priced out. Yeah, but I don't even think the legacy New Yorkers that experienced 9/11 have this exact same fucking attitude. I guess, and I've talked to a lot of people, like a lot of politicians and advisors around this on background, to try to like figure out what the fuck people were trying to do with this line of attack. And I guess it was to try and relive Giuliani voter block, like the real old New York voters potentially, but I don't know if that actually succeeded at all. Because, you know, like you also correctly pointed out, Andrew Cuomo killed a lot of those guys. I mean, that's true. It's quite literally true. When you think about it, Andrew Cuomo killed 15,000 elderly New Yorkers during COVID. Okay? That's 15,000 votes. That's maybe 30,000 friends that saw their friends die during COVID. He killed a chunk of his voter base, which is why I jokingly said, I mean, Andrew Cuomo has killed more New Yorkers than Muhammad Atta ever could. This is true, because he did 5 times more. Anyway, this was a funny moment too. In any case, cross-border diversion, but Mamdani campaign inspired me to get involved in electoralism one more time with Awi Lewis's run for NDP leadership. Lewis campaign reflecting a lot of the organizing and economic principles that Zohran has this past year. Great. Oh yeah, this was another. If you want to understand the mindset of Andrew Cuomo and the racism of Andrew Cuomo, here it is. Talking to HasanAbi head over at MSNBC, Eugene Daniels.
Give you a chance to correct the record if you didn't mean to say, but it sounded like you said diversity can also be a weakness. What did you mean by that?
Diversity can be a weakness if you have antipathy among groups, Jonathan. If you have racism.
Give you a chance to correct the record if you didn't mean to say, but it sounded like you said diversity can also be a weakness. What did you mean by that?
Diversity can be a weakness.
He's trying to say that if you import the third world, this is like the long way of the famous Elon Musk quote. Elon Musk, remember, famously looked at a white nationalist on Twitter who said, oh, Jews imported the third world, and now the third world hates Jews. You did this to yourselves. This is the other version of that, where he's saying, oh, well, antipathy amongst marginalized communities can create weakness. What he's trying to say is the Muslims hate the Jews, and that creates weakness. He's trying to say that. I'm just giving you the example. Obviously, he can't get away with openly saying, like, diversity is a weakness for us as a fucking, prominent supposed establishment Democrat here, which is what he's trying to run as. But what is really funny about this is he goes, diversity can be a weakness if you have antipathy among groups, Jonathan. And Eugene Daniels responds with, I'm Eugene.
Jonathan, if you have racism.
Yeah, he proved it. Now, we shall see. But yeah, closing your diversity is weakness argument by confusing the two black hosts is truly exceptional work, but you should expect that from Andrew Cuomo. In any case, there's some funny moments from the campaign trail, which we're going to get to, but here, I wanted to show you this as well. Representative Andy Ogle says, this is a photo of Mamdani's home country, Uganda. This is what the New York will look like after he destroyed it. Deport him now. Which, by the way, 2 hours ago, nice little 2K likes on that. I cannot believe how insanely racist these motherfuckers got. Okay? I cannot believe it, dude. This is beyond the pale. Okay? This is utterly beyond the pale. I mean, even this, an actual communist jihadist, a literal Karl Marx quoting America-hating jihadist. This is some straightforward David Duke shit. And this is precisely the reason why I was saying, if left unrestrained, the permissibility of Islamophobia is going to make these motherfuckers go crazy. And that's where we're at, Democrats. Wake the fuck up. I know many Democrats in positions of power don't give a shit about this because they care more about cashing Israeli checks more than they do about, like, creating some sense of cohesion as a unit in this fucking country. But god damn, dude. What do you think will happen? And we're watching this this fissure implode on the right anyway. These guys, for the longest time, have said that diversity is a weakness, diversity is bad. And many conservative Jewish broadcasters have played along with this idea. The great replacement is here. It's happening. And now they're experiencing the backlash of it, whether it be the conservative Indian commentators like Dinesh D'Souza going, where did all this racism come from? I don't know, motherfucker. Have you looked around? Or whether it be all of the institutional donors of the Republican Party of Jewish background, conservative Jews, going, what is happening with the Heritage Foundation? Why are they promoting fucking Pat Buchanan? Why are they promoting Nick Fuentes? Why are they promoting so many anti-Semites? Like, because you're not a part of the team, dipshit. You never were. You're a fucking idiot. You're a fucking moron, okay? Good luck. All of this kind of bigotry it plays a formative role in exploding bigotry of every sort, because people ask the same question where they go, okay, Randy Fine gets to talk about Zohran Mamdani or Ilhan Omar in this way. So why can't we say that about Jews then? Why can't we say that about Randy Fine then? That's a question that many Americans have asked themselves. Okay? And what is the fucking expectation? What is the fucking expectation? Sorry, Trump can hate all he wants. I'm not going anywhere, says Ilhan Omar. And Randy Fine says, my goal is to not give you a choice. If an American congressperson can speak like this about another Muslim hijabi congressperson, why is it that, like, people can't say that about Jewish people? Like, why do you think you will be protected from the exact same level of open bigotry and intolerance? It's a twofer because it's rapey, you know? That's the other thing. When he's done molesting his McDonald's hamburger, he wants to, you know, to also push this fucking rape culture ass take. It's disgusting. It's vile. And for the record, this is one of the things that I will forever say, no matter what people believe, I still think Americans by and large do not like open bigotry of this sort. Americans are far more tolerant of diversity than other countries. I know it sounds like an insane moment for me to say this, but I think Americans are still, by and large, quote unquote, woke, even when it comes to trans issues. Okay? Because the very same Americans that say, oh, transgender athletes are trying to fucking win high school athletic competitions. And on that issue, there's like 80% support to, like, abolish transgender athletes in general. When asked whether trans people are disproportionately discriminated against, will still turn around and by 60%, sometimes 70% say, yeah, that's right. It is a little fucked up, isn't it? So the very same people that are, like, you know, promoting transphobia will then still turn around and go, yeah, transphobia is pretty fucked up, I think. I swear to God, it is. When you get to a point of, like, open, loud, and proud bigotry, the average American goes, that's not for me. Okay? Obviously, the threshold of bigotry is different for different marginalized communities. Obviously, for Muslims, it's, like, way, way out there. But I do think that you're talking about cities, not rural America. They don't see colored people every day? No, 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 no. Even in the most rural fucking ass bumfuck place, there is a reason why the Klan wore robes, okay? I don't think you guys understand this concept. There is a level of permissible bigotry. This is a HasanAbi truism, okay? There is a, by the way, he dropped the colored in there. I read it. Sorry. Anyway, there is a level, there's a threshold of bigotry, okay? There's a reason why no sitting congressperson, for example, can openly can openly say like the N-word, for example. That's why they have to mask it with terms like thug. And even then, that's like kind of not permissible at this stage. So there'll be microaggressions like, oh, this black person is articulate, stuff like that. The reason for why is because if you just fucking hit the maximalist position, many Americans look at that and go, oh, fuck? Okay, that's too much for me. You have to mask it with euphemisms, right? Low IQ is another one that the Trump administration is slamming quite a bit, if you noticed, right? It's not about like the rural urban divide, which exists for sure in the way that people express their politics. But the reason for why dog whistles have to exist is because just blaring it out with a fucking bullhorn oftentimes makes people feel uncomfortable. Okay? It makes people uncomfortable about the types of ideas that they're on board with. That's precisely the reason why a lot of Americans that might have like straightforward neo-Nazi style politics still hate the term Nazi. They hate it. They've been programmed into hating this term. There's a reason why prominent neo-Nazis can't openly say they're neo-Nazis or openly say that they're fascists, because Americans look at that and go, ugh, I was with you when you were talking about, you know, white people being replaced. But then when you're starting to talk about like the genetic purity and the white superiority all of a sudden, and you say you're a Nazi, I'm not there with you, right? Of course, the necessity for euphemisms means that that there is a permission structure that can expand or contract, okay? And the more you fling around bigotry of all, the more people feel a sense of comfort saying the quiet part out loud. So just remember, it works in both directions, okay? It does work in both directions, which is why I have been so aggressive and so angry about the ways in which people have been so openly and so transparently bigoted towards Muslims, especially highlighted in the aftermath of these two different interests converging: a popular Muslim socialist candidate in the finance capital of America, but also with Israel falling off the map in terms of popularity, where very clearly they can't win back support for Israel. But what they can do is identify the enemies of Israel and present the enemies of Israel as this scary, intolerant, barbaric hordes of Muslims that are trying to destroy Western society from within. And they've seen great success with this, and that's the reason why you're seeing these sorts of attitudes heighten. I disagree. Dog whistles are still being racist. I never said that dog whistles are not an indication of racism. But the mere fact that dog whistles must exist means that there's like a necessity to rebrand. That necessity itself means that like there is a level of threshold. There's a threshold for bigotry, permissible bigotry, and you can't go beyond it. With the current threshold of bigotry being so high, when the pendulum inevitably swings back to mega woke, what do you anticipate will happen in terms of consequences of these racist fucks? I am not so sure that pendulum is a natural thing. I don't think that pendulum swing happens as a law of nature. I think you need to push for it. And I think in the absence of people pushing for it, we will not see it happening. And there's not a lot of fucking allies in this battle. Let's be real. Right? There's not a lot of allies in that battle. I don't think we'll go back to mega woke in general, but we will. I think the pendulum will swing back. At least I will try to swing it back to the best of my ability. And I know you will too, to try to correct people's behavior here in the nicest ways that you possibly can. But in any case, let's get to the news stories of the day. Okay? I've already covered the Zohran stuff a little bit. And I will continue to cover the Zohran stuff. I don't know if I should get into the Dick Cheney shit right now or continue along with the Zohran, the Zomentum that's taking place. But it's Donald Trump also has become increasingly manic as the end of this campaign nears. You see more and more insanity from the people who from the people who weren't paying close attention. If you noticed, any Jewish person that votes for Zohran Mamdani, a proven self-professed Jew hater, is a stupid person. Now, obviously, you're saying 11 likes, he fell off, but this is like an immediate screen grab. Okay, calm down. It is one of the most insane things I've seen. Okay, Deborah Messing is not an outlier of this sort. There are straight up people that are openly showcasing their mental deterioration on the fucking timeline, folks. It is one of the most insane things I've ever seen. People are so shameless in the absence of any sort of social mechanism, in the absence of people saying, hey man, maybe you shouldn't say that. You should think before you post. In this day and age where that kind of mental illness is rewarded, okay, in the absence of that kind of like social stigma, this kind of like social pushback, you're seeing more and more people openly showcase their mental illness on the timeline. One of the people that I think clocked this from afar is Mike Isaac. I talked about this. On the Majority Report. Okay. Mike Isaac, a New York Times tech reporter, friend of the show, Mike Isaac, tweeted something about New York Post last night. He's just watching this stuff unfold from afar, right? And as someone in San Francisco that's watching this stuff unfold from afar, he said, as a California resident experiencing the Post Twitter coverage of this race over the past 6 months, it has been like watching a social media manager slowly descend into mania. Okay? He said this yesterday after the New York Post came out with their incredible reporting. Okay, a real banger, another banger. This is sure to do it. How Zohran Mamdani's aloof wife, Rama Dawaji, quietly steered his campaign from behind the scenes. What the fuck are we doing? They're just fucking openly leaning into like mania. And I think it's genuine. I'm not even kidding. I think Zohran is straight up breaking the brains of a lot of people who were obviously receptive to having their minds break. That's some weak shit, dog. Guys, you don't understand. What I'm talking about is not necessarily that this is a successful line of attack. What I'm talking about is the fact that the New York Post thinks this is a successful line of attack. That is where the fucking insanity comes from. Do you not understand? Like, the more desperate these guys have become, the more insane they have become. And the more open they are about their insanity, the more they lean into QAnon style. Do you not understand? Like the very fact that Michael Bloomberg spent $3.5 million posterizing your boy, okay, as though I was like responsible for fucking 9/11 or some shit, in the last week leading up to this fucking election is insanity. $3.5 million from Michael Bloomberg on that ad slot that runs more than like Capital One ads on television. An ad slot that is not even determined to be successful. An ad slot that is just so insane because it makes people go, who the fuck is this guy? Who the fuck is this guy? Zohran is doing to people's minds today what Obama did to them in 2008. Reactionaries can't help themselves. Yeah. This is a funny take on the New York Post piece from Jessica Burbank. It says, they saw one of the most successful campaigns in history and thought a woman must have done this. Very woke. Thank you, New York Post. On the one hand, I think it's funny. And I want to say, oh, it's great that these guys have nothing. So they're just like flinging shit. Okay. They're just flinging shit at the wall, see what sticks. But also on the other hand, the very fact that this is like even remotely successful in actually getting the attention of like average American voters is terrifying. Okay? It's terrifying to me because you have a fucking completely unblemished track record for a young, dynamic guy who ran on an affordability message and hammered that in and was very charismatic, very personable, a person that everyone has been waiting for, right? A person that like everyone from New York City all the way to fucking California, where liberal voters are like, that's the guy, that's what we needed. And yet there are still going to be tens of thousands of people that were duped and manipulated into voting against him. That is terrifying. That means people are infinitely more malleable, okay? That still means that we have a long way ahead. We have our work cut out for ourselves. Have you been asked for comment by any media outlets? And if so, have you intentionally held back to keep from feeding the bullshit? No. I think a lot of the very same media outlets that have written all these like fucking glamorous profile pieces of myself have also been very cognizant of who and whose interest they serve. So they're just in a holding pattern at this point, from what I've seen, where they kind of moved in the direction of offering decent coverage to Zohran Mamdani, as opposed to like the unimaginably antagonistic coverage that they showed to Zohran Mamdani in the primaries. And we shall see. But it seems there's people reporting that there's bomb threats.
Concerning. And I think that it is an illustration of the attacks we're seeing on our democracy. Sometimes they're blatant and explicit in the manner of these bomb threats. And we have to understand this as part of the general approach the Trump administration has taken to trying to intimidate voters with baseless allegations of voter fraud as a means of trying to repress the voice of Americans across this country.
I don't know if he's going to get that question again today, but the general approach the Trump administration has taken to try and intimidate voters, unless we heard him incorrectly, what in the world is he talking about?
He is serving up a Kamala-sized...
What do you mean? What do you fucking mean? What do you mean? Donald Trump and everybody else on the Republican side are quite literally saying this is the most imminent threat to America, that he is going to do 9/11. There are literally actual congresspersons that are saying he's going to do fucking 9/11, man. What do you mean? These are the very same people, by the way, that turn around and go, oh, if you call out our fascist policies as fascist, that means you're trying to kill us. Okay? It's ridiculous. It is fucking ridiculous. He said he's going to pull funding from New York. Stephen Miller has endorsed Andrew Cuomo now. Another fucking, another glaringly obvious example of the uniparty attitude against an anti-establishment candidate. And unfortunately, you're seeing this mania come from Wall Street Journal op-eds too. Yeah, Zohran Mamdani's victory will imperil Jews and embolden totalitarians everywhere in the world. If New York falls, the entire free world may again totter on its foundations, writes BHL, Bernard Henry Levy. Okay? And of course, you know, no disrespect to the French, I think he is. But of course, this is a guy who I think, if I'm thinking of the same guy, this is a fucking literal pedophile, okay? The guy who wrote this Wall Street Journal op-ed is a straight up pedophile, okay? Yeah. Oh, look at the reply. Never mind. Did Levy refer to rape of a 13-year-old child as a youthful error or not? That's because in many ways, reactions differed little. There was Whoopi Goldberg, the American actress, claiming to find some difference between Mr. Polanski did and what she called rape. And there was Bernard Henry Levy, the French celebrity intellectual, allowing as how Mr. Polanski, 43 at the time, perhaps had committed a youthful error. 43, raping a 13-year-old, 43-year-old Roman Polanski, raping a 13-year-old, and the guy who wrote that fucking piece on Zohran Mamdani said that it was a youthful error. Anyway, here's Stephen Miller endorsing.
As far as New York is concerned, as you talked about, as we've said, unfortunately, the anti-Mamdani vote is being split between Cuomo and Sliwa. And President Trump tonight put out a statement being clear that if you vote for Sliwa, who's polling at about a third of where Cuomo is, you're just throwing your vote away. The anti-Mamdani vote, which is really the pro-New York City vote, the pro-America vote, needs to unite behind the leading candidate, and that's Andrew Cuomo. As far as New York is concerned, as unfortunately, the anti-Mamdani vote is being split between Cuomo and Sliwa. And President Trump tonight...
Bitch, if there is no other reason, and you don't actually need another reason other than the good policies that Mamdani's platform represents. But if you were looking for any other reason, these are some of the worst fucking shitheads that will suffer. Okay? These are some of the worst shitheads that are already losing their fucking minds. Okay? Mask off, neo-Nazis. They will be crying delicious and salty tears if, inshallah, Zohran Mamdani wins the mayoral race. And he fucking deserves to, okay? He has run a hell of a campaign. And you all, many of you, played a role in this. Many of you knocked on doors. Many of you canvassed. Many of you spread the word. Got your immediate family members to be on board, okay? There will be far-reaching positive consequences of this, okay? Michael Land says, with each passing second, I'm more bullish on Zohran Mamdani exceeding 55%. That was my lock. Manhattan and Brooklyn continue to turn out in droves with lines reported across base neighborhoods. We're pacing for a record number of votes. The vibes are screaming landslide. Did you see this?
Senator, the next mayor of New York City. Hey! All right. How you doing, man? How you doing? All right. You're doing great, huh?
I'm doing better now.
What a politician!
I didn't know he was going to show up. He finally did show up.
All right, I'm going to be saying that you're inspiring the entire world. How's that?
A little pressure.
A little pressure. There's truth to it. No. There is a reason why the whole bloody world is watching this election.
He's right.
The story of this is not going to be the greatest thing we ever did was run this campaign.
This is why, listen, this is why, in spite of my criticisms for many on the left flank, okay, of the American Democratic Party, like, the reality of the matter is, these guys, they've shown up, they've given people the audacity of hope, okay? And that is the reason why people are so fucking terrified. That's the reason why so many capital owners are losing their fucking minds, okay? That's it. I know these guys are not, implementing the Marxist vanguard, the Marxist-Leninist vanguard that you believe is imminent, but you have to remember, these things take time, okay? Coalition building, movement building, it takes time. And it has to reflect the broader consciousness of the population. There is a fucking reason why you have seen a sea of hate, a torrent of unrestrained hatred striking every fucking avenue they can. This race does have global impact. Bro, you need to stop chastising and acting like you know more than anyone to your left flank. Today is a day of excitement, so I will not be hearing from any of you. Okay? Oh my God, just cover the election, you liberal. I'm not. It's hard. It's hard to shake my confidence, at least for the time being.
And it's going to be what we did after we won. So much of what is so difficult for so many in this moment is the feeling that they are merely subjects. This is a movement to change them.
For too long, my friends, freedom has belonged only to those who can afford to buy it. The oligarchs of New York, they do not want the equation to change. They will do everything they can to prevent their grip from weakening. The truth, as it is non-negotiable, we are all allowed freedom.
What's the point of having an idea if you don't believe that you can implement it? What is the point of our politics if it's forever theoretical? And it will be difficult, there will be contradictions, but really it's about your will. The things that we can do, it is an immense opportunity to deliver things that transform working people's lives.
And on November 4th, that is exactly what we will tell the world. We can make City Hall a place where New Yorkers come to expect the future, not just failure.
You really fucking inspired us. Stick up to the billionaires. Keep fighting the good fight.
I think that's the thing that I'm most proud of in this campaign, is not the successes, it's that we took so many swings. Because Swinging is an example of being unsatisfied with the options that you currently see. It's an illustration of the fact that we have to build something more than this. That ethos that we need not wait for anyone else, it is an ethos I hope that many will carry with them. I want this to be the moment where more than 90,000 people are transformed into New Yorkers who are taking actions in different parts of their own lives to create the world that we all deserve.
What do you hope all these volunteers do after the campaign?
And that they understand that this is part of a lifelong struggle, not an electoral one. You have joined a movement for the rest of your life. Now, however you want to be a part of that movement is your decision, just as long as you continue to be a part of it. They see themselves in this campaign. They see the arrogance that we have, that these ideals could apply to us too.
Let City Hall, with our compassion, our conviction, and our clarity, be the light that our city and our nation so desperately need. Our time has come, New York. Our time is now. Thank you very much.
This is really lame and anti-revolutionary, to be honest. Lamau, this isn't transformation law. He's a brand who's operating within the confines of existing structures. Yes, you're absolutely right. And he's sheepdogging all of the revolutionary leftists back to the Democratic Party. You're right. Good things are not possible. This is nihilism. This is that attitude that was just demonstrated right there is not reflected by a broader population, so it doesn't really matter necessarily. And I'm not going to take debate on this, but Sparkle's Cosmic Heart says, so much of this election is tied into HasanAbi's literal worldview and perception of politics, and his win is a big indication he was right. So chatters need to calm down. This is important to him, and a lot of us are in avoiding potentially more harmful actions in the future. There is a method for change here, okay, that has been demonstrated. And as someone who has experienced so much failure of this sort, to basically unlock the class consciousness within the base, to even give people the tools to communicate their fucking desires, to give people some crumb of hope, a semblance of hope, in spite of the endless hurdles that are thrown in your way. Okay, in spite of all of the forces of capital doing everything in its power to try and propagandize the population against the notion that better things are possible. Okay, in spite of all of that, good organizing and good politics able to win out. Okay, that is at the heart of the democratic process, even in a bourgeois democracy. This doesn't mean that a revolution will come from reforms, okay? I'm not saying that. A lot of you would rather look at any sort of incremental change in the positive direction as a negative thing. And I kind of understand where people are coming from because they've seen so much defeat. They've only known defeat. They've only experienced loss. They've only experienced an erosion of hope, okay? I understand where you're coming from, but what do I always say? You cannot succumb to nihilism. You have to maintain revolutionary optimism. And a part of that is taking a disciplined approach and then taking in the victories that you get along the way instead of casting them aside and saying, this doesn't matter. This doesn't mean anything. If it didn't mean anything, if it did not mean anything, why do you think all of the forces of capital are using every fucking social tool they have at their disposal, eroding what remains of their political capital to fucking go against this dude? They understand the danger of giving the working class a crumb of fucking hope, but you don't. You think you're going to magically create the revolutionary vanguard in a country that is antagonistic to working class movements, that it has no class consciousness whatsoever. So stop, okay? Take a deep breath. I understand why people are cynical. I get it, okay? That is the reason why I'm restrained and not running around and you know, claiming victory before it happens. But in a country that is at the heart of empire, there will be no magical single-handed approach, like no magical antidote pill that everyone can take where they automatically become class conscious and rebuild the structures necessary to create pressure against capital, the forces of capital. Okay? We have nothing in this country. So no, I'm not going to attack those who are trying to build something. Okay? And I hope that you guys will understand my position eventually.
My question for Get Out the Vote today is for my leftist friends who think that voting and participating in electoral politics, even on the local level, is a waste of time. Why is it important? And that have said, oh, we can't do anything because you got to work with the Albany. What do you say to those people that we're trying to convince today that it is worth it to them to go out and vote in this election?
So I think the key would be that we're not asking everyone to become an electoralist. We're not asking everyone to say that the only way to change the city that we love is through the ballot box. What we are saying is this is 5, 10, 15 minutes of your time. This is one way to bring that future forward. And this is one way to actually tangibly cast your vote in support of a vision of a city that belongs to all of us. And then you can do all of the other organizing that is so critical to winning that future, whether you're organizing tenants, whether you're on the front lines of immigration advocacy, whatever it may be. We need every single way to win the future that we deserve.
Right. We can go back to hating right after we vote.
Yeah, come on, please.
Go back.
Yeah. I think that you should not stop your criticism of Zohran Mamdani if he is elected, right? That's not what I'm saying at all. If you see something that he's doing that you don't consider to be appropriate, that you consider to be bad or wrong or antagonistic to the movement that you thought he represented, then it is appropriate for you to let your voice be heard. But you also must be cognizant as to why. You also must be cognizant as to why so many people despise this movement. Okay? Why are they so fearful if this movement does not represent even a fraction of change in the appropriate direction? Why? Why have they been so antagonistic? Why haven't they simply said, like, why hasn't Chuck Schumer come out and been like, I love Zohran Mamdani. He is running a campaign of affordability. Why did it take Hakeem Jeffries until the very last moment to say, oh, well, you know, he's all right, I guess? Why? Why is it that the Republican administration, under the guidance of Donald Trump, is actually lending support to someone like Andrew Cuomo? Why is that the case? We have to be more disciplined. We on the left have to be more disciplined. And if you can't find yourself to believe that someone is sincerely advancing the causes that you hold near and dear, then you can at the very least understand why those that are antagonistic are so loud in their response to someone like Zohran Mamdani, who I always say is basically just trying to do modest expansion of pre-existing constructs within our current governance, right? Rent freeze. It's happened before. Fast and free buses. Zohran himself has been able to advance this cause. Why is it that they're so mad about even just a modicum of change in the direction of the working class, like alleviating some of the pains that they experience? Why? Think for a moment. Why they did this to Bernie Sanders? After all, Bernie Sanders is a social fascist, right? Bernie Sanders is a Zionist. He's a social fascist. He doesn't represent change at all. Or at best, he wants to take the super profits that we are extracting from the global south and redistribute it back to the labor aristocracy, you might say. So why is it that there was a faucet, a torrent, an unlimited torrent of hatred launched against him? Perhaps it is because, especially since the Reagan era, but this predates the Reagan era as well, but especially since the Reagan era, the hegemonic neoliberalism has been able to so effectively destroy what remained of a semblance of hope for a better future for the working class, was so effectively silenced, so effectively quashed, destroyed, that even the most modest advancements, even the most marginal advancements in the positive direction for the working class, a campaign on pure affordability alone, receiving any sort of positive coverage, receiving any sort of success is considered terrifying. I have a lot of guests today. I haven't brought them on because I want to do my coverage. Okay, there are a lot of people that I was supposed to have on, but the reason why I haven't brought them on is because I want to be able to do the coverage, and it's hard to do it when I have guests here. Okay, so calm down. Fuck the news. Chill with the homies. Y'all are crazy. This is one of the, I would say this is for me one of the more important moments in my political advocacy, in my political commentary career.
Mamdani, he represents almost in a pure form the class struggle. You know, the famous line by Karl Marx, the beginning of the Communist Manifesto, the first line is, "The history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles." The history of all hitherto existing societies is the history of class struggles. And we're seeing in the Mamdani campaign, it's clearing the air. You can't say a fellow named Mamdani is weak on race questions, ethnic questions, religious questions. It's not going to work. So it's a straight out class struggle. His campaign was just like Bernie's. Bernie's was about affordability, and Mamdani's about affordability. But in this case, you can't use any of the woke weapons against him because his name is Zohran Mamdani. He's clearly not a old white male, you know. So it's a clear-cut class struggle. They're very scared of it.
All right. I'm worried about Sliwa's chances today. Are the Sliwa heads cooked? Fear not. The proletarian vanguard will be strong today. The Sliwa heads, Curtis Sliwa heads, if you're in line, stay in line. Okay? Sliwa sweep is imminent. I swear the anti-woke stuff has cooked some brains. Yes, it absolutely has. Curtis Sliwa will be the cat czar. Do not worry. Here is a thread of Deborah Messing's insane racist crash out over Mamdani on Instagram. And I wanted to show you the purest distillation of mania. The Mamdani maniacs that have lost their fucking mind. Speaking of which, you better have cast your ballot for Prop 50. I did. Before leaving Los Angeles, I did.